Greetings and salutations, one and all. How you doing? Welcome to the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew. Real Talk Wednesday. This is how we close out the night shift week. Tonight we have a very special edition of Real Talk. I want to say big ups to each and everyone locked in right now. Those on TuneIn Radio, the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Those on NIE Radio up there in New Jersey. Those on PEMGTV.com. The other affiliate stations around the globe. Welcome. So glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. You have my word, I wouldn't even try.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Inequity, disparities, and violence. Oppression, racism, no, I won't be silent. No more barriers for we. Prosperity. Marcus Garvey said it best, none but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight, let it be for justice. And if we want, let it be for justice. At all costs, let it be for justice. Do what is right. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. 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 No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. We the people are from royalty. I wish so many of us can see. Keep the culture, be united, stop the violence. Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise. In the news last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets. Ooh,
let me just take care of some formalities before I get everybody in.
But if we fight, let it be for justice.
I want to say thanks to Policy Media Group for sponsoring this segment of the broadcast. When being in the moment is priceless. The Policy Media Group provides innovative streaming and recording solutions. You have a church service, a seminar, graduation, funeral, wedding, party, you name it, you have it to stream. The Policy Media Group can set you up with that.
Let it be for justice, no matter what it costs, let it be for justice.
Just give them a call, 754-999-6020, or check them out online, pulseemg.com. I want to say thank you to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands.
Be for justice. Let it be for justice.
Althea SU is a licensed massage therapist operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach counties. 20 years of experience. She comes to you with, she comes COVID free and she like to leave that way. She brings to her table her oils and a wealth of experience.
Be united, stop the violence. Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise.
Just go ahead and give her a call, 954-655-9000, or email her at theolate@att.net. Set up your appointment. She only asks, outside of paying her, that you get off her table when she's done and go sleep somewhere else. And believe me, you will fall asleep. I want to say thank you to Reggae Global Entertainment. Reggae Global will act as your booking agent, handle your tour management. take care of your legal contracts, publishing, trademarks, business registration, marketing and promotion, music production, and so much more. Give them a call, 954-9988-034. Or check them out online, reggaeglobalentertainments.com. And thanks to GMAT Music Solutions,
From royalty,
bringing your event to life, providing sound, light, and stage production services,
can
musical equipment, PA systems,
culture be united?
audio engineers, DJs, bands, musicians, singers, and more.
In the news last week, another bomb overseas.
Give them a call, 754-307-GMAC.
Streets.
That's 754-307-4622. Or check them out at gmatmusicsolutions.com, where you can also do your online shopping.
Let it be for justice.
In the background, the sound of China Nicole. The track is called Let It Be for Justice.
For justice.
Inviting you to call a friend, tell a friend,
Be for justice.
call an enemy, call the friends of your enemies and the enemies of your friends.
Let it be for justice.
Tell everybody. It's a night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, Real Talk Wednesday, also known as Marlon's favorite night shift show.
Let it be for justice.
I want to say big ups to Marlon,
Let it be for justice.
General Manager for Reggae Global Entertainment, Reggae Global Radio, sorry.
Let it be for justice. Let it
You can catch Marlon on Mondays and Wednesdays
can see. Keep the culture beat.
from 7 p.m. until 10 Eastern Time on Reggae Global Radio.
In the news last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets.
I want to welcome you guys who are locked in on Facebook Live. Remember, it's only temporary. Please use the link.
But if we let it be for justice.
And it'll take you to PEMGTV.com, where you'll join us and you can participate in the chat room. Of course, the phone line will be available so you can call in. That's 773-789-STEW,
Let it be, let it be.
773-789-7839.
No matter what it
You can call, you can text, but of course, you're invited to jump into the chat room on PEMGTV.com. You can use the KevinStew.com link, and it'll take you straight there also until the page is back up.
let it be for justice.
You're good to go.
Let it be.
Speaking of good to go, I have two of my three guests with me right now, ready to get started. The third will join us a little bit later on. But in the meantime, in between time, I'd like to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, I'd like to introduce my guests for the evening. Let me go ahead and show you all who's going to be joining me tonight. Oops, there we go. So we have Antoinette, we have Dale, we have Jimmy joining us a little bit later on. Right now, we have on the line attorney Dale Baich and sister of Julius Jones, Antoinette Jones. Want to welcome you guys to the broadcast. Thank you for taking the time out to come and hang out with me tonight and bring us up to speed with what is going on with Julius. I think we lost Antoinette, Dale. Hello? Hello? Dale, you still with me? Hello?
I am. Hear me?
Okay, I'm hearing you now. I think we just lost Antoinette. But we'll get her back. So, on the line, I have attorney Dale Baich, who is a part of the legal team for Julius Jones. And I'll see if we can get Antoinette back. She was on just now, but she just disappeared. You still with me, right, Dale? Hello? Dale?
Hello? Yes.
Oh, it seems like yes. Are you hearing me? It seems like you're cutting in and then going out. It must be something on my side.
Um,
Okay, there you are. You're loud and clear. And then you're not. Wow. I just love when technology decides to play this game with us.
Be for justice. Let it be for justice. Do what is right. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. 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 No matter what.
Okay, we should have you back. Are you there, Dale?
I am.
Okay, great. I love the Gremlins just come on and do their thing, and it's what they do, I guess. But
Right.
we'll see if we can get Antoinette back on. Let me send her a message really quickly. In the meantime, if you just kindly introduce yourself to everyone for me, please.
My name is Dale Baich. I am one of the lawyers who is representing Julius Jones.
Nice. And you've been on this case how long now?
My office was appointed in August of 2016.
Okay.
So just about 5 years.
All right. Got you. So this was a little bit before the filming of the documentary. Correct?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
This was a little bit before the filming of the documentary with Viola Davis, correct?
Yes, 2 years before the documentary aired, we were appointed.
Okay, got you. Okay, here's Antoinette calling back. Let me just add her to the call. Antoinette. Hello, Antoinette.
Yes. How you doing?
Okay, great. Good to have you back with us. So, and Dale is here. So I have two of the three of you. And Jimmy will be joining us a little bit later on. So I have
Okay.
two of the three of you. Dale's just introducing himself to us, being as the attorney for Julius since 2016. So let me ask you this off the bat, Dale. When you came into this case, was there anything as you got familiar with it that just kind of jumped out at you and you just kind of shook your head and said, what happened here?
Well, we were appointed to represent Julius to prepare his clemency application. And when we first got the case and looked through the file, it looked pretty bad. But we put our team together and we met with Julius a couple of times. And our investigators went out and talked to people, got files, found new evidence, and we learned that there was so much information and evidence that was not presented at the trial. And we were very concerned because the evidence pointed to the fact that Julius did not commit this crime.
So how would it for those who are new to this and new to the Julius Jones case, which would be it's a little bit surprising me that to me that some people still don't know of this, but that's okay. We don't get all the information that is out there. For those that are new to this, when you say you're surprised that some of this information wasn't presented and surprised at how much evidence was out there that proves or points to his innocence, you're talking about things that would have been available from the time of the trial between 99 and 2002 when he was actually um, sentenced to death.
Yes, there was evidence that it existed that the trial lawyers did not obtain, either because they did not do a decent investigation or the kind of investigation that should be done in any criminal case, but especially a death penalty case. Plus, there was information that the district attorney withheld from the defense at trial.
There we go. Now, for the regular listeners of this broadcast, this is normally a type of presentation that I would do on a Monday in community and finance. But tonight is a very special presentation of the night shift and real talk. Because in a nutshell, a man by the name of Paul Howell was shot in a vehicle robbery. Somebody tried to take his vehicle. He was killed. And Julius was pointed out as the person that did it. And as such, he was convicted of the murder and sentenced to death. So he's been on death row since 2002. Now, since then, ever since his arrest, he's been claiming his innocence. And there has been, just even then, you'd ask questions like, how can they pin this on him? And there are things that actually have doubt, that cause reasonable doubt. And as a layman looking on and getting some of the information, I'm like, whatever happened to reasonable doubt? On the line also we have Julius's sister, Antoinette. Welcome back to the night shift, Antoinette.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Stu.
I still have to get used to you calling me that. Ever since the first time we met, but I understand because that's how you were raised. Now,
Yes, sir.
the last time that we spoke, it was just before 2020 did their special on Julius. And up until that time, I do believe the bandana that was found in your home had not been tested for DNA. Correct?
Ooh, that has been a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, because it's 2021 now.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So how since the first time when we spoke, how has things been progressing? Because this has been just a little bit over a year, going on to 2 years, I think.
So like Julius is just the it's been spreading like wildfire since the documentary has taken off, since key supporters like Kim Kardashian, Scott Butnick, Jason Flom, John Legend, Trey Young, Russell Westbrook, Blake Griffin, Buddy Hield, since they've retweeted and since Blake Griffin is dead, like I think he did like a GQ discussion, little short GQ discussion.
Right.
Um, it has taken off to just higher levels with 6.2 or 6.3 million signatures on the petition on the change.org petition. Excuse me.
Right.
Um, it's taken off. So many people want to do podcasts and interviews, and just they can't help that it's so much information that's been coming out. Like what has been taking so long is the answers that I've been getting. I mean, the questions that I've been getting. Like, how come this didn't come out 17 years ago, or 18 years ago, or 19
Right.
years ago?
Right.
So I'm very appreciative to Mr. Dale Baich and Amanda Bass for, you know, looking over everything, like just deep diving and trying to figure out everything.
Yes. Yes. And watching the documentary and seeing them new to the case going to work, I was like, so what was happening before? And it clicked. I looked back at it and it clicked. It was that the attorneys that Julius was assigned to defend him were fresh out of law school or did not have any criminal capital murder trial experience.
Yes, sir.
And that just looks like a big setup from Jump Street. Now,
From Jump Street.
Mr. Bish, Dale, you are a defense lawyer, and so you work for the state also, correct?
I work for the federal public defender.
Right. Okay. For the federal government. Cool. So, federal government, federal public defender's office. Now, I have been looking at wrongful convictions for a while, starting back in 2019, I would say. And I've looked at a few, and one of them that I look at frequently is the Rodney Reed case. Hearing you say information that the Attorney General had that the defense didn't have strikes a chord with me, because that is not something new that I've been hearing as I've been asking questions and speaking with individuals that have either been wrongfully convicted, as I have spoken with two from inside prison, and a few that have since been released. And this seems to be a common theme. Now, with you working with the federal public defender's office, is that something that you see very often happening, that the Attorney General's office would be holding on to information and not passing it on to the defense?
We see that in a lot of the death penalty cases from 2015, maybe even 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of work that should be done was not done, partly because the resources and money may not have been provided to the lawyers. Also, the lawyers were inexperienced.
Mm-hmm.
Working on a death penalty case takes a special skill set, and you can't come out of law school and handle a death penalty case as one of your first cases. Even an experienced lawyer should have training in order to do these special cases.
Right. And you've been an attorney for how long?
I can't do the math. Let's say since 1983.
Okay, we'll go with a long time. So we're talking about 83 to 2023 would be what, 30 years?
Yes.
So almost 30 years. And you've always done capital cases?
No. The first 5 years, I was practicing in Cleveland, Ohio, and the work that I did was primarily in juvenile court, representing children who were either abused, neglected, or dependent. In 1988, I moved to the State Public Defender's Office in Columbus, Ohio, and worked in the death penalty unit there. And that's when I first got training and experience in handling death penalty cases. And after 8 years, I left that office and moved to the Federal Public Defender's Office in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've been out here for 24 years now.
Okay, excellent. And so you got this case by assignment, or did you intentionally want to do this case?
We were assigned to the case, and you may ask why lawyers in Phoenix are representing
Right.
Julius, who's on death row in Oklahoma.
Right.
Well, the federal public defender in Oklahoma had a conflict, and they could not represent Julius. So they reached out to my office and asked if we would be willing to accept the appointment in the case, and of course we agreed to do it. And we've been on the case since August of 2016. And in our office, as Antoinette mentioned, my co-counsel is Amanda Bass.
Right.
But we have a paralegal, two investigators, an assistant paralegal. We have help from a law firm in New York City that's volunteering its time to help us on Julius's case. So we have a big team.
Nice. I like that. Now, Antoinette, when Amanda and Dale got assigned to this case, what kind of emotion were you guys in the family experiencing when you met them?
When we first heard about them, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
But when we first heard about them, Juice was like, they've already came to visit me, and I said, oh, okay. So he was like, they were talking about coming to visit you, and next thing I know, they actually came out here to visit, and I was taken aback, and I was like, okay, so they actually seem like they are serious about this, and so
what made that stand out for you?
I listened to them, and I loved from the moment I loved Dale's honesty. He said this is going to be a hard fight. It's not going to be easy. He said I've dealt with cases like this. There is a chance that they still could execute your brother, and I understood from that moment where he was coming from. He wasn't going to hold back anything. He was going to be forthcoming with everything, and so I listened to him, and I watched how he wanted to proceed with defending Julius, and that's when I realized this is how you are supposed to be properly informed about your loved one and how they are supposed to be defended.
What was it that them going out to see Julius, what about that was so impressive to you? Isn't that what attorneys do?
That's what you would think attorneys do, but in some cases, like with Julius' second lawyer, David, he did not go visit Julius like he stated he did. It was Miss Robin Bruno that did go visit him continuously.
Right, and I think you mentioned that in the docu series too.
Hmm.
So Dale and Amanda get on the case now. They're communicating with the family. And are you at this point now? Although he said, you know, this is gonna be a tough one, having done cases like these before. Is it that you guys were like, okay, we're confident, we're not even looking at the worst case scenario in this. We are sure that these are the ones that are going to help Julius. Was that the thought?
Just I want to say it was just that feeling of it was just like a unspeakable feeling, like these are the two that
Mm,
are going to help your brother. And it
right.
was it was like an unspoken spiritual feeling. I know it was God telling me these are the two that are going to help. This is part of your defense. This is part of the people in the city. And like it speaks about in Acts that my mother so eloquently always speaks about, that people in the city are going to help. And so I roll with it. My experience with God has been leveled up since this movement of support for Julius. So
Right.
it's been phenomenal, and I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, I see it happening. I see it happening on social media. I see it happening out there. The fight goes on, and a much needed fight it is.
Yes, sir.
Dale, some of the challenges. What were some of the challenges that when you came on, you were facing?
Well, one of the challenges was that we live in Phoenix, Arizona, and Julius's family was in Oklahoma City, and Julius was in custody in McAlester, Oklahoma. And what's really important in any case is to have a relationship, a trusting relationship with your client.
Mm-hmm.
And it was difficult to do that because it's not like we could just jump in the car and drive an hour down the road and see Julius. We would have to travel halfway across the country, but we did it because that was important.
Right.
And we, every time that we were in Oklahoma City early on in the case, we would visit with Mr. and Mrs. Jones and Antoinette and Antonio and let them know what was going on in the case. The other challenge that we had and still have is that the district attorney refuses to turn his file over to us so that we could take a look at it to see if there is any other evidence that he may have that could be helpful to Julius. We asked for that file in 2017, and in 2018 he said he would let us see it, and then a week later changed his mind, and to this day refuses to let us see his file.
Is that common practice?
Different prosecutors have different practices, but in 2017, there was a commission that studied the death penalty in Oklahoma. And one of the recommendations of that commission was that the district attorneys should make their files available to defense teams in death penalty cases. And my question is, why won't the district attorney let us see his file? What is he hiding?
I think that is the question on everybody's lips, because immediately that becomes my question. And I see the similarities here again with even the Rodney Reed case, where there were documents requested by the defense, and even the consultant on the case to they sent requests to the Attorney General's office, and they get the runaround. So this isn't new information to me personally. Hearing that there are some prosecutors that operate differently from others, and it had to get to the point where the state had to come in and say, hey, all right, listen, we need to share these documents, and the prosecuting attorneys, you need to let the defense see what you have. There are a few things that come to mind when looking at this case, and for those who are not familiar with the Julius Jones story, I do suggest you visit the website Justice for Julius. Is it justiceforjulius.com or justiceforjuliusjones.com? I just normally just go. It's justiceforjuliusjones.com. So visit the website. The documentary is on there. There's a bunch of material that is on there. Petition access is on there. Get familiar. One of the things that is coming up this coming Monday, the 8th of March, is a commutation hearing. But before we get to that, looking at some of the things that is currently known about the case, like the individuals who pointed fingers, Kermit, Day, Chris, Jordan. Could you shed a little light about these three individuals, Dale?
Christopher Jordan was charged along with Julius in this crime, and Christopher Jordan was a friend of a man named Liddell King, and Liddell King was an associate of a man by the name of Kermit Lottie.
Mm-hmm.
Kermit Lottie and Liddell King were confidential informants for the police departments in Oklahoma City and Edmond, Oklahoma. And Kermit Lottie ran a chop shop where he would purchase stolen vehicles or have his people go out and steal vehicles and then sell them. So when the police found the Suburban 2 blocks away from Kermit Lottie's chop shop,
Mm-hmm.
Immediately they go to him. He points the finger at Liddell. Liddell King then points the finger at Julius and Chris Jordan. And when the police take Chris Jordan into custody, he immediately says that Julius was the person who killed Mr. Howell. Now, there's a problem with that because the only eyewitness to the shooting, Mr. Howell's sister,
Mm-hmm.
Described the shooter as an African-American man with a red bandana over his face, a black stocking cap with half an inch to an inch of hair hanging out from the stocking cap.
Mm-hmm.
That description matched Chris Jordan because at the time Chris was wearing his hair in braids. Julius, on the other hand, his head was just about shaved, so
Right.
half an inch of hair could not be hanging out from the cap if Julius was the shooter.
Right. So it didn't occur to anyone, or was it just that it was not known that Kermit Lottie and Liddell King were informants to the police in Oklahoma City and Edmond? Was it that the defense didn't know?
The defense did not know until after they testified in court, and they only learned, if I'm remembering correctly, that Liddell King that Kermit Lottie was an informant, and it was after the trial was over that we learned that Liddell King was also an informant. And it's really interesting because Julius, at the time of the trial, could not figure out why Kermit Lottie was there, why he was testifying. Julius had no idea who Kermit Lottie was, and it wasn't until we got the documents and we were going through the file and we were visiting with Julius on death row, going over these documents, and he finally learned for the first time, nearly 20 years later, that Kermit Lottie was a confidential informant and got a deal
Right.
for testifying against Julius.
So even with that, how does a deal system work? Because as a layman, as far as I know, the person that comes first with some information to the cops get the best deal. Is that how it works?
Yes. Chris Jordan went to the police, or when he was taken into custody, he pointed the finger at Julius. He said he would testify against Julius, so it was an easy case for the police. They had their man, and it's one of the problems with this case and many other cases is that tunnel vision sets in. The police focus on one person as a suspect, and they ignore information about others who are potential suspects. And in this case, what should also be concerning is that Chris Jordan made 6 or 7 different statements, conflicting statements, and he couldn't even keep his story straight. But the police had someone who would stand in court and point at Julius, and they had an easy case because they had a witness who said Julius did it. But what we know now from looking at all the evidence and evidence that has come out since the trial is that Chris Jordan, admitted to at least 3 people that he set Julius up for this crime, that he was going to get out of prison after serving only 15 years, and that he was the one who killed Mr. Howell.
Now, you said he mentioned this to 3 people. We know one came forward recently. Now, the 2 that were mentioned in the last defense docuseries. Why was it that their information wasn't taken into consideration?
Well, one reason is that that information came out after the trial, and the way that the procedure works is that after the trial and the appeal is based only on what evidence and testimony is presented at trial.
Hold on a second for me, please, Dale. I'm sorry. Let me add Jimmy in here. Jimmy, welcome to the party. Welcome to the party, sir.
How you doing?
I'm great. I'll introduce you in just officially introduce you in just a moment as Dale continues to say what he was saying. Go ahead, Dale.
Okay.
Dale? Oh,
yes. Yeah. So after the first appeal, any new information or evidence that comes forward, because of procedural technicalities, the courts will say, you should have had this information earlier. It's too late, so we're not going to look at it. So information that came out after trial has not been looked at by the courts on the merits. In other words, the courts say, the information was too late, so we're not going to look at it.
And is that something that is common practice?
That's the way that the process and procedure work in all criminal cases, including death penalty cases, and it's not exclusive to Oklahoma.
Okay, so at what point then can you introduce new information like this? If it cannot be introduced in the appeals process, how can this new information get introduced?
Well, you can try to go back to court and say, I have new evidence. What the state will say in response is, you should have found that evidence earlier, and because you did not, you were not diligent in investigating the case, so the evidence should not be considered by the courts.
But doesn't that set up... Sorry, go ahead.
I know it makes no sense. Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive. I know it makes no sense, but that's the way the process works. There are all these barriers that are put in place along the way that prevent courts from looking at meritorious evidence.
So doesn't that then, though, set up for the argument of ineffective counsel? Or is just bad investigating?
Well, that's why the commutation process is so important. And the Pardon and Parole Board in Oklahoma does not have limitations placed on it. So if Julius gets a hearing in front of the Pardon and Parole Board, this will be the first time all of this evidence is going to be put forward in one proceeding and considered by the board. And the board will make a decision, did Julius get a fair trial? And the Pardon and Parole Board is not limited by the courts. The Pardon and Parole Board is not limited by procedural rules that prevent newly discovered evidence from being presented. So we're really hoping for the opportunity to fully present the case.
So, presenting this information in front of the pardoning board, pardoning and parole board, this now gives the opportunity to present the new information. Does it give, if the parole board says, okay, this is actually showing that it wasn't a fair trial in the beginning, does that then say, okay, to the courts that now they have to do a retrial?
No, unfortunately, the Pardon and Parole Board cannot order a new trial. But what the Pardon and Parole Board can do is make a recommendation to the governor of Oklahoma that Julius's death sentence should be commuted to time served in prison. Under Oklahoma law, Julius cannot ask for a pardon at this point. All that he could ask for is that his death sentence be commuted, and we're asking for it to be commuted to time served. We want to get Julius off of death row. We want to get him out of prison. We want him to be at home with his family.
Right. I'm gonna come back to you, Dale, about the most recent bit of information, how that affects everything, and the process of putting the case to the Pardon and Parole Board. Jimmy, welcome, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? I appreciate you having me. Again, it's an honor and a privilege, man. How you doing?
I'm great. And quite blessed to be able to have this sit down and chat with you guys once again. And so glad you could get Dale to join us. I asked Antoinette what the family's emotion was like with hearing, there's new evidence that has come out, with knowing that Amanda and Dale were appointed to the case, and they seem to be, hitting the ground running and doing stuff. What the feeling was like. You, as Julius's best friend, what were the emotions that you were feeling when Dale and Amanda came on board, one, and two, with this new information coming to light?
Yeah, so before all this last defense came to fruition, we were working hard behind the scenes trying to do what we could do to make some noise, and on the pill side of things, and things in the community, and all kind of different creative ways to try to bring some light to his case. But as you know, it's all about exposure. But when you don't have that exposure, it's very tough to get your voice heard. So
right.
We got very blessed and fortunate that ABC and Viola Davis, picked his case up and shot that amazing documentary. And that's when Amanda Bass and Dale jumped on board. And I tell you what, I always say this wherever I speak, because Dale's my guy. And those two individuals were what I call game changers. Their knowledge of law, for Oklahoma law, and Dale's amazing tenure of death row experience, put us in an amazing position, right, to be able to navigate through the system now. So when they jumped on board and I got a chance to meet him or her for the first time, I knew Stu. I knew right off the bat that I say, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for, for 15 years. So it was just an honor and a blessing, to have him jump on board. And of course, the show, combined with the show, provided, in my opinion, a formula for success. Right. It gave an opportunity to tell a different side of the story that we never had a chance to tell. That was really key, because man, we were trying. Antoinette knows we were trying, It just wasn't happening. So, thank God for the last defense, put us in a position to, tell the story
Right.
and allow Amanda and Dale to use their expertise to bring this thing on to the, as they say, knock it out the park, bring it on home.
Right. Dale, one of the things looking on as an outsider, looking in, I see a lot, and it could be a played out argument, but I see a lot of black and white happening here, a lot of racial tones being coming into play. When you, as an attorney, you start looking at a case like this, do you look at it and say, boy, okay, so there's also a race aspect to be taken into consideration with this, or are you just going with the mere evidence that is placed or overlooked in the case?
We always look to see where there is bias and racism. The death penalty is not about fairness or justice. It's about politics, and who are the people who are on death row? They're poor people, they're mentally ill people, they're people of color. So it's something that we look at very carefully. And in Julius's case, there are two issues. One is that a study was done in Oklahoma looking at death sentences and murder convictions from 1995 to 2012, and three highly respected academics concluded that an African American man is 3 times more likely to get the death penalty if he's convicted of killing a white person. And
Wow.
we took that study and presented it to the courts, and the courts, as I mentioned earlier, said, you're too late. This study came out in 2017, and within 60 days of that study being released, we presented it to the court. And what the court said was that Julius should have raised this issue back in 2003, at a time when data for the study didn't even exist. So that's one instance where we have a study that shows systemic racism, and the courts won't look at that issue. And then as to Julius's case in particular, a juror came forward and said that another juror referred to Julius and used the N-word.
Right.
Again, we presented that information when we got a sworn affidavit from the juror who told us what she heard. We presented that to the court, and the court said that evidence should have been presented at trial, and because it wasn't presented at trial, we're not going to look at it. Well, how could it be presented at trial when the woman just came forward 60 days before we presented it to the court? So that's one of the frustrations about the judicial system and all of these limitations that are in place. People think that all these judges and justices are looking at this case, and if something went wrong, they would have found it. But the way that it's structured is the courts are limited as to what they could look at. And again, pivoting to the Pardon and Parole Board, there are no such limitations in place for that board.
So you're saying that it is just how the judicial system is set up. It's just the design of it that makes these restrictions so stringent?
Yes, and the public really isn't aware how limited the courts are, and people don't understand that until they get caught up in the system. And once you get caught up in the system, it's really difficult to get out of it.
Is it that's a craziness that I am learning of the more that I get into wrongful conviction cases. There's a man out of Arizona, Daniel Gutierrez, that he was wrongfully convicted, and his case was so ridiculous. His mother was a judge in New York, and even with writing on her stationery to the judge in Arizona about his case, there was nothing that could be done, and it was just blatantly just a false case. So much so that while he was in prison, he spoke with the attorney, and the attorney said, "You know what happened in court today? That was just illegal, and there's nothing I can do about it. Just take care of yourself. It was nice talking with you. I gotta go. Goodbye." And that was that. So, so now his case is the second in U.S. history to be avoided conviction. Funny enough, they both happened in Arizona, but his was within this decade. You know, I spoke with him 2019 also, and we keep in touch, and he still is taking some measures, you know, to clear his name. Still not yet cleared. So when I hear of things like this happening with Julius, I am saying, hey, you know, I don't know if everything was taken into consideration when this whole judicial system was being put together. And even so, if it was not taken into consideration, then why are things not being amended as we move forward? You, as a defense attorney, have an almost impossible task, because if the prosecution is supposed to prove without reasonable doubt that an individual is guilty of a crime, how is it that Julius is in prison when there was so much doubt? Or maybe because I have hindsight and additional information. At the time when the information was presented, it really made him look guilty. Because even with Paul Howell's sister's testimony in court, when she described the person, no cross-examination, nothing that said, hey, listen, you know, but you said he had hair sticking out of this stocking cap, and the defendant doesn't have any hair like that. Nothing was said. And everybody just went ahead with that. And not even the jury gave any consideration. So now this is, and you mentioned someone on the jury using the N-word to describe Julius. And that was overlooked. So this uphill battle, you never thought, boy, you know, Jones family, I'm going to do my job, but instead of saying that it'll be a difficult task, you never thought to say, boy, you know, we can't win this one. Was that ever a thought of yours? Dale, you still with me?
I am. You know, you ask these these questions that are really difficult to answer because we're doing our best to try and right this wrong, but the legislatures in Oklahoma and other states and the Congress has put all these barriers before us, and we're going to keep swinging and try as hard as we can, but it's really somewhat frustrating to try and work in this system.
Let me ask you a personal question. What makes you keep doing it?
I have this picture in my office, and it's behind the door, and people don't see it. Only I could see it when I close my office door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a picture of an African American man taken in the 1940s in the electric chair in Alabama. And the picture was taken just before he was executed. And that's a reminder to me that, got to keep fighting. Got to keep fighting for Julius. Got to keep fighting for my other clients who, committed the murders, but should they be executed?
Mm-hmm.
We give the government way too much power and way too much authority by giving the government, the ability to execute its citizens. And let's look at what happened in the last 6 or 7 months with the federal death penalty, where the former administration carried out a record number of executions just because it could.
Right.
And we got to stop this.
And it is so difficult for someone who is innocent, like you said, to get off death row, let alone to get out of prison altogether. There are so many people that have been convicted that are innocent, and the number of individuals who are people of color way outnumber those that are considered Caucasian. And it is just ridiculous. And when I come across someone like you who you're going to your thing is, I am going to do whatever it is that I can do in my power to right this wrong. You may not be able to fix it, but the ones that you are working on, at least you'll make a little bit of a difference. For me, my thing is, if I reach one person, I have done my job. If you can make that difference with one family in one life, you've done your job at that point. Time to move on to the next one. And so you keep going and going. And I that's what I get from you. And with you having that picture behind your door, that when you close your door, it's a constant reminder to you. I don't know. Jimmy and Antoinette, you guys know about this picture?
No, I did not know about that amazing picture. But I will say this: it does not surprise me that Dale has that type of motivation, because that's the type of person he is. That's the type of man he is. And that is the passion. Excuse me. That's the passion that Dale brings to the table with this particular case. And it's an honor to have that, because we never had that type of buy-in and passion from the representation from our counsel, from the initial trial. So we never had that buy-in. So I think that's what makes this opportunity and relationship, specifically for me and Antoinette, so special with Dale, because we knew what it felt like on the other side of that fence, right?
Right.
Of not having that passion and that vision and that fortitude that Dale has. So, me personally, because, me and Julius have been friends for 30 years, unfortunately I have walked this nightmare myself, right?
Yeah.
And to see when Dale came along, I knew within the first 5 minutes where his heart was, right, and where his passion was. So that alone, we could just stop there. That alone was a game changer for me.
Right. Antoinette.
I did not know about the picture either, but that, if that even makes sense, it makes me love Dale even more. Like to know that he's fully focused, like the minute he closes that door.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to his character, to his work ethic. That's deep.
Yeah. It
And
is.
you see it when he's talking in front of people when we were doing panel discussions and screenings, and the way he thoroughly explains, why this is this way and why we need to know this, and these are the steps that we're going to take now. It definitely makes it clear where he's coming from. So
Yeah.
That's good. Stu, one thing that I clicked real well with Dale too, because we're both college professors. So when we found that out about each other, that was just another notch on the belt for me that says, okay, so here's another bonus, here's another benefit, right, about Mr. Dale, because we had that same mental capacity, right? So I knew with that additional, I was like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for.
Right. A comment here. I would normally cut off Facebook Live, but there are some people that wouldn't. I don't want them going through the one click of going somewhere else, since they're already there and they're comfortable. And Joy Hartman Robertson says anyone would be blessed to have Dale on their side, and the Jones family is very deserving. Sue is replying saying, so true. I haven't gotten a chance to meet Amanda Bass, and I just, from watching the last defense, I get it that Dale and Amanda would just gel and be awesome together. Dale, did you know Amanda before being assigned to this case?
Well, Amanda joined our office maybe 6 months before we asked her to join King Julius. And she is a fantastic attorney. She's the one who has rolled up her sleeves and taken a really deep dive into the case. Lamont and Rebecca, our two investigators, have spent time in Oklahoma City and other places talking to witnesses and shaking the trees to see what we could get. So I'm really humbled to hear what Jimmy and Antoinette are saying, but it's really the team that we have in place that gives us all the strength to do what we need to do for Julius.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's very concerning for me though when I look on as one, as an immigrant, two, as a black man in this country, what it is that we have to face. And I have children. And you would think that this would be something that you'd read about in the history books from back in the 60s. Shouldn't have happened at all. But you would have thought that would have gotten over things like this in the 60s, where you have such a disparity in people. I read recently where there isn't a divide, a racial divide. There are smart people and not so smart people. And the not so smart people then use race and gender and class to divide the groups. And I thought, whoa, this is kind of deep. With looking in on this case, I see you guys, Dale, the legal team for Julius, being some really intelligent people, some really smart people, trying to look beyond the black and the white, but recognizing that race plays a part in this also. The two initial individuals that came forward talking about Chris Jordan confessing to them that he was the one that committed this crime and that he would be out in 15 years, which he was out in 15 years. Then now recently you have a third person coming forward, Roderick Wesley, that Chris Jordan served time with not in Oklahoma, but in Arkansas?
Arkansas, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that deal. How did that work? How did that happen?
Our understanding is that because Chris Jordan testified against Julius at trial and got a deal for it, that he did not want to serve his time in Oklahoma because he was concerned, presumably, that he would be labeled as a snitch. So he ended up serving his time in Arkansas, and we've documented that.
Right.
He talked to Mr. Wesley, and back in 2010, and confessed again to committing this murder.
Mm-hmm. So now you'll be able to present those three affidavits from these individuals to the parole board, or just the one from Mr. Wesley?
Well, the affidavits from Mr. Littlejohn and Mr. Berry are before the Pardon and Parole Board, and there will be one from Mr. Wesley before the Pardon and Parole Board. But we also have a video of Mr. Wesley telling the story in his own words, and it's a very powerful video because back in 2010, when Chris told Mr. Wesley that he committed the murder, Chris did not go into any details. He did not even tell Mr. Wesley what state the crime occurred in. He just said, I killed a man and there's someone doing time on death row. And I'm not going to come forward because I don't want to throw myself to the wolves.
Right.
And that's all that Mr. Wesley knew back in 2010. And it was in July of 2020 when Mr. Wesley was watching the 2020 broadcast that updated the last defense,
Right.
that he saw a picture of Chris Jordan. And he said, oh my God, that's the man, that's the same Chris Jordan that told me 10 years earlier that he killed the man, and this is the case.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Wesley wrote us a letter and told us this. And because of COVID and the Arkansas prison being locked down, we were not able to have an in-person visit with him, but we did have 4 meetings over Zoom.
Right.
And he told us what I just said to you, and we verified the information. He gave us access to his prison file, and he's really a courageous person to come forward. And he said, "Look, if something like this happened to me or someone in my family, I would hope that someone would come forward." There's nothing that we could give Mr. Wesley. We're not like the prosecution who could give favorable treatment or do something to reduce his sentence. He came forward and talked to us because it was the right thing to do, and he recognized the injustice here and the fact that Julius is on death row for a crime he did not commit.
So I was gonna ask you if he had anything to gain from that, from coming forward, and you addressed that right away, straight away. I thank you for that. It is crazy to me that this board would not take into consideration any of this information that was not presented at the time of trial. It would be crazy to me that today in 2021 they would turn a blind eye to the blatant disrespect of an individual's home that took place as a result of sending a message by Oklahoma police. One may not have anything to do with the other, but to me, it strikes a chord. It really does. When a young Antoinette Jones is going to go into her home after the cops, who is supposed to be protecting and serving, rip it apart, throwing the mattress out of the upstairs bedroom, out the window, onto the front lawn. That's ridiculous. And quite traumatic. So here you have a young, impressionable black life coming up in this society to think what of law enforcement. And I've never asked her what her opinion is on law enforcement. No, today. And I'm pretty sure that Antoinette, you'd have a lot to say about law enforcement and the judicial system as it is right now, and as you are getting experience in it, because your experience with this judicial system is a whole lot different than what I hope to ever experience. And so, actually, in a few words, and I know you're a woman of few words, but in a few words, sum that up for me. How do you feel about the system that you're operating in?
Just a few words. Man.
Go
So
for it. Go for it, Antoinette. Go for it.
that's gonna be a little hard, but
Just
I
go.
try.
Just
So
go. Go for it. Forget the few
first
words.
of all, witnessing that and going through that at the age of 13, going on 14,
Mm-hmm.
um, I could be like, oh yeah, I hated the police, but I did not hate the police because I still had a relationship that was built upon trust and communication with different programs that they implemented in our school systems at that time
Right.
when I was in middle school and elementary school. So though I did have a fear of police. I made sure to not go to different parties. I made sure not to hang around people I felt like was up to no good. I even had to be pushed to go to different birthday parties and things like that from my parents
Mm-hmm.
because it's just I didn't want to run in with the cops. You know, you're already being racially profiled. I don't care what any person tells you. You are being racially profiled when you walk past a cop and they immediately put their hand on their gun.
Yes.
When they look you up and down, when they try to intimidate you. So I already had all those different angles of how the police were. I knew angles of where there were police that definitely served and protected, like Mrs. Harden in middle school at Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were other policemen and police women that definitely, made it to where like, oh yeah, I might want to become a cop. But what they did to the house, with the different police did to the house, I will never forget that. I will never forget that that was hate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna say racial. That was hate. That was sending a message that we're gonna do what we want to do. But I got news. But God.
Yes.
And I can stand right now today only because of my walk with God and say that I don't have hate in my heart for what they did. Because when you're under the influence of the enemy, sometimes you do stuff and you create chaos and don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But God got us. The connections that we're making, the way in which the documentary, the way in which Dale and Amanda came into our lives, the way in which my brother Jimmy speaks and he's his brother's mouthpiece, the way
Yeah.
that the different supporters that are coming together, creating different events, discussions, panels, screenings, things that have never been done. This is definitely God. This is definitely God. And I don't have any hate in my heart, but I truly I'm coming from an understanding point of view as a grown woman
Yeah.
to understand that sometimes things are done and there's no answer right then, but you find that answer later on down the line. But I have no hate in my heart for the police, and I know it's a hard job to do.
Yeah. Definitely. Um. With the bandana getting tested, Dale, I remember vaguely there was a press conference with the governor. Was it? You can correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy. Um, was it with the governor that he did a press conference and said, or was it the attorney general's office where they said, yeah, the bandana was tested, but he could not be ruled out conclusively. That Jimmy, not Jimmy, I'm sorry, that Julius could not be ruled out definitely, um, with being the one wearing the bandana. They said. Was that
Yeah,
how that went out?
that was the Attorney General
Okay.
who had that press conference.
So Dale, when when you heard that bit of information, what was your next move? Forget about the bandana or ask more questions?
Well, when we got the test results, we knew that the bandana was not going to open the prison door for Julius, but what it did was it raised more questions, and here's why. When we decided to test the bandana, we identified a stain on it that we thought could be saliva. Remember when the victim's sister testified, she said that the shooter yelled at her as she was running away from the car. So we were hoping that there would be some saliva or sweat on that bandana that we could test.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the testing, that stain was not saliva or sweat. But what the stain did contain were a number of male DNA profiles. There were at least 3 different male profiles on that stain. And the DNA was very degraded, and there were a number of markers that were consistent with Julius's DNA, but those markers were not significant enough under FBI testing standards to identify Julius as the person who contributed that DNA. But we also have to remember that Chris Jordan told the police, and he told Emmanuel Littlejohn, that he, Chris Jordan, planted that bandana in Julius's room. And our
He
experts looking, yes, he
When-
told the police, and he told Emmanuel Littlejohn that he hid the bandana and gun in the room. And what we have to remember, if the bandana was found in Julius's room, we would expect to have DNA consistent with Julius.
With Julius on it, yes, from cross-contamination.
Correct. And because there's no saliva that was on that bandana, we don't even know if that bandana is the one that the shooter wore. So the bandana really tells us nothing.
Right. Hello, you still there?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
sorry. So
okay.
the bandana tells us nothing related to the crime.
Mm-hmm. So, as telling as it was, it became a non-factor real quick. But the mere fact that I didn't even know that Chris said that Chris told the police that he was the one that put it there. I know Little John had come forward and said, Chris told him that he did the killing and that Julius was framed for it, was set up for it. But even the simple thing, going back to the basics of this case and the beginning of this case, the fact that Julius was at home This man got killed around about 9:30 p.m. Um, somewhere between 9 and 9:30 p.m. And Julius was at home with his family having dinner playing Monopoly. Well, and some point in there, Antoinette and Antonio just kind of nibbled away at his cookie. But you know, in all this was happening while Julius was what, a good 20-30 minutes away. So even that, not raising an eyebrow, again, kind of crazy to me. But as we now have this new information to put forward, tell us a little bit, Dale, how, again, now with presenting this information to the parole board, and you mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, but I want you to go over and tell us, where do we go from the presentation of the information to the parole board? What are the possibilities? And is there a way for Julius to clear his name in the end?
So on Monday, March 8th, the Pardon and Parole Board will vote on whether to move Julius's case to what's called Stage 2 review. And Stage 2 review means that there will be a hearing in Julius's case. Members of the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board and 3 members out of the 5 have to vote to move to the next level. Goes to Stage 2, and we present all the evidence. The board votes. And again, we need 3 board members to agree with us. But the options for the board would be to go with our request for commutation to time served. The board could also say, we recommend commuting the death sentence to life, or the board could deny our request. If the board denies our request for a commutation, the case is over. The governor does not have the ability to weigh in at that point. It's only if the Pardon and Parole Board recommends a commutation that the governor could then either accept the board's recommendation and commute Julius's sentence, or the governor could reject the recommendation for a commutation, and Julius's death sentence would stand.
So we still have a far way to go yet. Now,
Yeah, we have a ways to go yet.
Now, let's go ahead and go for what should happen, and he gets commuted. His sentence gets commuted to time served. Is there a way for him to clear his name after this point?
Well, if his sentence is commuted to time served and he's released, once he is out of custody, he could then ask for a pardon, and he would go back to the Pardon and Parole Board and present an application for a pardon. But we're not looking that far ahead. What's important is that we convince the Pardon and Parole Board to commute Julius's sentence to time served, so he could be with his family and get on with his life.
All right. I'm claiming it. That's just what I'm doing. I'm claiming it, and I'm not taking being wrong at all. I'm not giving that consideration. So I'm looking forward to him going and seeking that pardon and clearing his name. Is there anything that can be done as it relates to Chris Jordan facing actual, well, I guess double jeopardy would prevent him from being tried for the same case?
Yes, in exchange for his testimony, Chris pled guilty, and you're right. Double jeopardy would prevent the state from charging him and trying him for this crime.
Now, the officers involved that knew that Julius was being set up, is there any way that charges can be brought against them?
Well, what's happened here, it happens in almost all the cases when you allege prosecutorial misconduct or that the police did something wrong. They all start circling the wagons, and people are trying to protect the arrest. They're trying to protect the conviction, and they're trying to protect the death sentence. And they're doing that because they cannot admit that they did something wrong. And that's a real concern in that people are more interested in protecting their reputations or protecting a judgment than drilling down and trying to figure out what's the truth and what's just.
Now, as my simple mind, my simple layman mind says to me, if this goes the way it's supposed to, which is quite favorable for Julius, it puts the whole prosecutorial misconduct, as you put it, it really puts a big spotlight on that, in my opinion. I could be wrong. It could be just argued that prosecution was just doing their job. They presented a case, and it is just for the jurors to deliberate and come back with their findings on what was presented. And it is for the defense to have to cast reasonable doubt so that their client can. So everybody needs to do their job and do it effectively. So I guess the argument at that point can be, well, we were just doing our jobs. And then nothing can come out of it. But then, in my feeble mind, what I'm saying is, wouldn't this put a spotlight to say, well, if they could do this in this case, how many other cases have they done similar things in? Does this now, as you said, with them protecting these various things, reputation and the death penalty and whatever it was that they have done in this case and other cases similar to it, would that now weigh even more than doing the right thing?
Well, you know,
I know it's a tough
let
question.
me say, yeah, and let me say it this way, and this is something that that keeps me up at night. You know, if it wasn't for Viola Davis and Julius Tenen and the other producers who did The Last Defense and elevated Julius's story and educated people in Oklahoma City and across the country about his case, which then brought people like Kim Kardashian and Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott and Russell Westbrook and others into the case, and Scott Budnick, who is a movie producer, who then even elevated the case further. And people are talking about it, and you have us on your show tonight, and you know, people are hearing about the case and want to do something. What's frightening to me is that if none of this happened, the facts about the case would be the same, but Julius would just be another black man on death row saying he's innocent and nobody listening. And there are thousands of Julius Joneses in our prisons across the country.
Yes.
And that's the real injustice. And again, it's frightening to me. People don't hear about those injustices.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this. They've heard about a few of them on my broadcast. I don't just feature wrongful convictions, but I've been looking at a few of them, and two of them that I've been looking at quite often is this one, Julius Jones, and Rodney Reed in the murder of Stacey Stites. And both cases to me really puts the Attorney General's office in a sticky situation if it turns out that everything gets exposed, because like you said, the Attorney General's office they're not willing to show you their files, which means that there is quite possibly things that they need to keep hidden because it exposes them being shady. It exposes them, and you can't say it, but I can. It exposes them being corrupt. And with Rodney's case, Texas is like Texas is a country by itself, operating on its own rules. I wonder if Oklahoma is similar. And with these states being more southern states, you know, I'm in South Florida. I'm in Florida. Then it could pretty much be the same thing in Florida, in Georgia, in South Carolina. You know, right across the southern states, we could be facing these same problems. So, if it so happens that we can shed enough light and level the playing field, then black people would have a better fighting chance when they get to court, if they make it to court. Coming up in 2 weeks, 2 Mondays from now, there's a young lady out of Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if you heard about this, where she there was a raid on her home. Police did not identify themselves. It was in deep down in the night, and she shot at the persons coming into her home. She thought it was a break-in. Police officers, one of them got shot. They are accusing her of attempted murder. So she won't be on,
Wow.
but her advocates will be, and we'll be talking about this a little bit. You know, these are real things that happen, and it's scary. But knowing that there are individuals like you, it gives a fighting chance. It really does. And like people have been saying here on Facebook in the comments, you know, Dale Baich is an awesome guy, basically. And one person even said that you won't admit it, but you are an angel. Here is Sue. Sue is saying Dale does it because he's an amazing human being. And I guess they use amazing because they can't find any other words. But the young lady that I was telling you about, her name is Diamonds Ford. And you can look her up. Jacksonville, accused of attempted murder on a Jacksonville sheriff's deputy. So
Wow.
in 2 weeks I'll be talking with her people, 2 Mondays from now. But as it is right now, coming Monday is what else can people do? What can the listeners, what can the Joe public, what can we do between now and Monday? Is it just a matter of spreading the word, on continuing to spread the word and share and signing petitions as it relates to Julius? What can we do? And Antoinette and Jimmy, you guys can chip in here at any point.
Yeah, sure. I guess as those who want to support, we encourage them to continue to write and call the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board on our website, which is Justice for Julius. It's FOR, justiceforjulius.com. We've got some information on there that the listeners can call the numbers. Also write. We have a system set up where they can input their information, and it will automatically generate a e-letter that will go to Governor Stitt's office as well as the Pardon and Parole Board. Mm-hmm. So we would encourage you all to flood between here and Monday. The more the merrier. Yeah. And allow your voice to be heard. So that's an amazing option for everybody out there that's listening that wants to dive in and jump on this amazing train that we have as well. Keep sharing the story. Exposure. Mm-hmm. As Dale said, continue to spread that word. Just like today, we have an opportunity to be on your show again. As some more listeners, some more people who have not heard about the case. So that's important. It's just word of mouth and exposure. So I think those are my top two. If Dale has anything else,
mm-hmm.
I can't top that, Jimmy.
and so you have anything to add?
What was the question? I'm sorry. No, but like Jimmy said, lean in and also subscribe to Justice for Julius. I'm not for sure if Jimmy said that, but subscribe at the website justiceforjulius.com. Mm-hmm. That way you can get updates and emails. Also, if you haven't bought a T-shirt on there, it's a good time to buy a T-shirt and be in support of the March 8th hearing that's coming up. Also, there's a documentary for those that are in the state of Oklahoma, and that you can attend on Friday, March the 5th at the Tower Theater. There will be. I'm hoping that there's still time to get a ticket, but like Jimmy said, what we're asking of everybody right now is to still stay locked in. Still call the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board. Their number is 405-521-6600. I'll also call on our great governor, Kevin Stitt, 405-521-2342. Like Jimmy said, you can send an email in support of Julius's commutation application with the different options of click with the click. You can send an email to the Pardon and Parole Board and the governor. Like he said, keep sharing the petition at change.org. Keep, especially those that have not followed the official website. So go and follow the official websites, follow Enlight, and continue to be a voice for Julius, continue to fight for his life. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'm going to have to say good night because I need to get some rest. But I appreciate you, Mr. Stu. I appreciate you, Mr. Dale. I appreciate you, Jimmy. I love to all of you.
We are wrapping up right now, so yeah, we are gonna get some rest. I do appreciate love the fact that you guys again could take the time out to come on and to educate us with what has been going on. Updating and educating is the name of the game for tonight, and you guys have once again hit it out of the park. Dale, it's been a pleasure meeting you, sir, and it's quite an honor.
The pleasure is mine, and I really appreciate you allowing me to have time tonight, and I appreciate what you do talking about other injustices. It's really important to spread the word and educate folks. And thank you for doing what you do.
I just try to do my little bit. That's all I can do, my little bit. And if everybody does their little bit, I think collectively we can do a whole lot. And it started with Jimmy and Antoinette doing their little bit, and it has grown to what we are seeing now, and others that have jumped on the wagon, jumped on the train to help out and to, like Trisha says on Facebook, be a voice, because it is working. So let's all raise our voices. Call up Governor Stitt, send a letter to the parole board. These little things make big differences. Everybody do your part. Thank you, guys. Y'all get some rest. Y'all have a great night. We'll stay in touch. I told you before that I'll be in touch, and I stuck to my word. I kept in touch. Jimmy, I don't know who will be with you, but I do believe you spoke with Donnie, and you should be on the Donnie Walker Morning Show come Friday morning.
Okay.
Around about 9 Eastern. So
okay. Yes, Stu, I highly appreciate you having us again.
Yep.
It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you for using your platform to spread this exposure for justice for Julius, man. It's an honor. It's a privilege. I don't take it for granted because you didn't have to do it, but you did, and I highly appreciate that.
It's my honor, sir. It's my honor. Y'all take care. Y'all have a great night. We'll be in touch, and rooting for Julius come Monday, March 8th, with his commutation hearing. So rooting for him. Y'all take care. God bless. And we'll be in touch. All right?
All right, you too.
All right, good night. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? This has been a special edition of Real Talk. And don't get it twisted. The fight is not over. It is nowhere near the end. We still have to push through. Because until Julius is home with his family, he is not safe. The government still holds his life in their hands. Let's open our eyes. Let's open our mouths. Let's make a difference. As we close out in musical therapy, this is Nikki Blaze.
I see them lost.
It's called Lost in Illusion.
I see them lost.
Thank you guys on Facebook Live. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your comments.
How they reside in the state.
As I close out,
Why is it that my race
I just want to say, remember to look out for members of your community. And your community is not just the development that you live in, but it spreads far and wide.
to knock down?
So those that you pass on the bus, on the plane, on the boat, or the train, whether you walk, ride, or drive, these are members of your community. Do something good for one of them today, because you never know who's going to do something good for you tomorrow. My name is DJ Kevin Stew. This is how I like to do it to you, for you, and with you every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 10 to midnight Eastern. Right here, kevinstew.com and affiliates. Catch you come Monday in Community and Finance once again. But before that, on Saturday is my music broadcast on Reggae Global Radio.
Down in Darfur, Jamaica, they're crying out for
If you're new to the night shift, go ahead,
come together and help
like the page,
They don't
send me a friend request,
want to start a revolution.
share it with your friends,
Into the illusion.
and follow the podcast. There's a Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew podcast.
Yeah, I see them lost. You're
Go ahead and look for it.
in a state of confusion.
This broadcast will be up tomorrow morning.
Wake up, yeah.
So then you'll be able to share it with some other people who may not have had some of this information.
See them lost. I see them lost. I see them running, running, running. Oh, I see them running.
Until we meet again,
Oh, my people lost.
be good. If you can't be good at it.
Lost, yeah.
Y'all take care of yourselves, okay? Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world from right here in South Florida. I bid you a good night.
I see them lost. Lost in illusion, yeah. I see them lost. Oh, lost in delusion, yeah. My people, you lost. I see.
Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. Greetings and salutations. This is DJ Kevin Stew inviting you to bubble up and simmer down with me in the Saturday Stew right here on Reggae Global Radio. Get ready for the special segment called The Secret Ingredient, where you may hear from your favorite artist or producer. Saturday Stew happens every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time exclusively on ReggaeGlobalRadio.com, where we get high on reggae.